I want to transport you. Not to a beautiful port in the Caribbean, but to 4:30 a.m. on the first morning of your highly anticipated, expensive cruise vacation. You are nestled in that plush cruise ship bedding. You've finally relaxed. You are in a deep, restorative sleep. Screesh! Your eyes fly open, your heart hammers in your chest. What was that? It sounded like someone dragging a heavy metal table directly across your ceiling. You lie there, tense, waiting, silence. Maybe you dreamed it. You start to drift off again. Thump, screesh, scrape. Now it's happening again and again. It sounds like a construction site has opened up directly above your head. You look at the clock, 4:45 a.m. You look at your spouse, who is also awake and looking confused and angry. Welcome to Deck 8. Now, when I say Deck 8, I'm not just talking about the number 8. I am using it as the universal code that savvy crew members use for the danger deck. The deck that is immediately directly below the pool, the buffet, or the most active public areas of the ship. Cruise lines sell these cabins as premium. They call them high deck, convenient, and scenic. They charge you extra for the privilege of being there. But here is the shocking reality that the brochures will never Photoshop in. A cruise ship is basically a massive steel drum. And steel is one of the most efficient conductors of sound on the planet. When you book that premium cabin right under the pool deck, you are not booking a room. You are booking space inside the drum. Every footstep, every dropped object, every rolling cart on the deck above you sends vibrations down through the steel beams and directly into the ceiling of your cabin. It doesn't just make noise, it turns your ceiling into a speaker. For my older travelers, sleep is not a luxury, it is a medical necessity. 7 days of fragmented, interrupted sleep is not a vacation. It is a recipe for elevated cortisol, blood pressure spikes, and the kind of zombie exhaustion I see on the faces of passengers flying home who tell me they need a vacation to recover from their vacation. I don't want that for you. I want you to sleep as well as you do at home so you have the energy to enjoy the world you came to see. If we haven't met before, hello, I'm Sophia. For the last 15 years, my office has been at 35,000 feet, serving as a flight attendant for a major international carrier. I've flown millions of miles, and a huge percentage of my flights are the cruise returns. The flights out of Fort Lauderdale, Miami, and Seattle, full of people heading home after their cruises. You might be wondering, Sophia, you're a flight attendant. Why are you talking about cruise ship cabins? Because I am the one who deals with the fallout. I am the one serving coffee to the passengers who are cranky, exhausted, and fighting with their spouses because they haven't slept more than 4 hours a night for a week. I see the difference between the passengers who are glowing and refreshed and the ones who look like they've been through a war. Almost always, when I ask the tired ones where their cabin was, they tell me a deck number that makes me wince. I have a special place in my heart for my older passengers. You are the generation that works the hardest, saves the most diligently, and deserves these trips the most. You are also the generation that is most targeted by the cruise industry's upsell tactics. I am not here as an airline spokesperson today. I am here as your daughter in the galley. I am the insider who is going to tell you the unvarnished truth about acoustical engineering that your travel agent doesn't understand. We are going deep today. I am going to give you the 8 hidden acoustical nightmares of cruise ship cabins. We're going to talk about physics, ship operations, and exactly how to read a deck plan like a pro so you never ever get stuck in the danger deck. Let's find you some quiet. Let's start with the most infamous, most common, and most maddening noise issue on a ship. Nightmare number 1 is the chair drag torture. If you look at a deck plan and you see that your cabin is located directly under the main Lido deck, do not book it. I don't care if it's a suite. I don't care if they offer it to you for half price. Do not do it. You need to understand the operational schedule of a ship. The pool deck is the heart of the action. At 5 a.m., while you are asleep, the deck crew comes out. Their job is to unstack the hundreds of heavy metal and mesh lounge chairs that were stacked up the night before for cleaning. They take these heavy chairs and they drag them across the deck to set them up in neat rows. Scrape, thump, drag. Then, at 7 a.m., the chair hogs arrive. These are the passengers who wake up early to claim the prime spots by the pool. They drag the chairs around to get the perfect angle. Then, all day long, as the sun moves across the sky, hundreds of people are constantly dragging their heavy metal loungers a few feet to the left or right to chase the sun. Then, at 6 p.m., the crew comes back out to stack them all up again. Drag, clang, thump. Why is this so loud in the cabin below? It's called structure-borne sound. When a heavy object scrapes against the steel floor of the pool deck, it creates a vibration. That vibration travels effortlessly down the steel supports of the ship, right into the framework of the ceiling of the deck below. Your ceiling acts like the membrane of a giant drum. The vibration shakes your ceiling panels, turning the physical scrape into an amplified acoustical sound right over your bed. And here is the kicker for my light sleepers. Because it is a vibration traveling through the ship's structure, earplugs will not block it. You don't just hear it with your ears, you feel the vibration in your bones. It bypasses standard noise-canceling measures. I remember working a flight from Rome back to New York. There was a woman in row 12 who looked absolutely dreadful. Pale, dark circles under her eyes, shaking hands. I thought she had the flu. I brought her some extra water and asked if she was okay. She started crying. She told me she had just finished a 10-day Mediterranean cruise. It was supposed to be the trip of a lifetime. They had splurged on a spa balcony room on deck 11, directly under the main pool. She said for 10 days, the scraping started at 5:30 a.m. and didn't stop until midnight. She averaged about 3 hours of sleep a night. She spent the days in a fog, too tired to enjoy the excursions in Italy. The noise had literally tortured her for a week and a half. She wasn't sick with a virus, she was sick from sleep deprivation caused by bad cabin placement. First, never trust the brochure. Do not rely on the cruise line's description of the cabin. Second, the overlay technique. You must open 2 browser tabs on your computer. In tab 1, open the deck plan for the deck you are considering. In tab 2, open the deck plan for the deck directly above it. Third, find your room. Put your finger on the cabin number you are looking at on the lower deck. Fourth, look up. Now, look at the exact same spot on the deck plan above. What is there? If it is a blue area representing the pool or a large open space representing the sun deck, do not book that cabin. You need to be under other cabins, not public spaces. This next one is tricky. It's a trap for people who think they are being smart by avoiding the obvious noisy areas like the pool or the theater. You look at the deck plan. You find a quiet little hallway tucked away in a corner. There are cabins above you, cabins below you, but on one side of your cabin, on the deck plan, there is just a big blank white space. You think, oh great, no neighbors on that side, it must be extra quiet. Wrong. This is mistake number 2, the white space deception. Cruise lines do not publish the locations of back-of-house crew areas on the passenger deck plans. They want you to think the ship runs by magic. Those big white spaces on the map are almost never empty steel. They are high-traffic, 24-hour industrial work zones. The crew galleys. These are satellite kitchens used to prepare room service or prep food for the main dining rooms. They run 24/7. You will hear clanging pots, shouting chefs, and industrial dishwashers running at 3 a.m. Service elevators. These are not the nice glass elevators you use. These are heavy-duty freight elevators used to move luggage, food carts, and equipment between decks all night long. The machinery is loud and clunky. The worst offender, the dish pit. Sometimes that white space is the main dishwashing intake area for a restaurant on the deck above or below. The most common noise from these areas is the service carts. These are heavy metal carts filled with hundreds of pounds of plates and food. They have hard rubber wheels. The floors in the crew areas are often hard tile or steel grating for easy cleaning. When a crew member rolls that heavy cart over a tiled floor at 2 a.m. to set up for breakfast, it creates a low-frequency, rumbling thunder that vibrates right through the wall into your cabin. Rumble. Clack. Rumble. It's rhythmic, it's loud, and it's relentless. I had a very savvy couple on a flight from Seattle. Frequent cruisers, they thought they knew everything. They told me about the nightmare cruise they just had. They booked an aft corner cabin thinking it would be secluded. On the deck plan, the area next to them was just white space. It turned out to be the main service entrance for the dishwashing station for the huge dining room one deck up. They said that from 6 p.m. until 1 a.m. every single night, it sounded like someone was dropping boxes of silverware down a flight of stairs next to their head. The crashing of plates and the rumbling of carts was unbearable. They tried to move rooms, but the ship was full. They spent the week sleeping with pillows wrapped around their heads. First, Be suspicious of blanks. Never assume a blank space on a deck plan is empty. Assume it is a noise factory until proven otherwise. Second, the Google sleuth method. Cruise fans are obsessive. Search Google for your specific ship name and the phrase hidden deck plans or crew areas. You can often find detailed blueprints that angry passengers have posted on forums like Cruise Critic, showing exactly what is in those white spaces. Third, avoid the main corridor junctions. Be very wary of cabins located near the main central elevator banks or stairwells. There are often hidden service doors right there used by housekeeping staff starting their shifts at 6 a.m., banging buckets and talking loudly. This next one is a cruel irony because it often traps my most health-conscious senior travelers. You are active. You like to get your steps in. So you look for a cabin on a high deck thinking, oh, this is wonderful. I'll be right near the jogging track. I can get up early and do my laps before breakfast. So you book a cabin on the deck directly underneath the sports deck. Congratulations. You have just walked into mistake number 3, the thump-thump trap. Look at the deck plan for the sports deck. Do you see that oval line representing the jogging walking track? Now, overlay that onto the deck below it. Does that track run directly over the bed of the cabin you are looking at? If it does, here is your reality. Cruise ships are full of early bird run clubs and enthusiastic power walkers. They like to start at sunrise around 5:30 a.m. or 6 a.m. When a 200-pound man wearing running shoes strikes the deck with his heel while running, it creates a significant impact. This is called impact noise. Just like the chair dragging, this impact sends a shockwave down through the steel deck and into the ceiling of your cabin. Below decks, it doesn't sound like light footsteps. It sounds like a rhythmic, low-frequency bass drum being hit directly above your head. Thump, 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 thump. It's not constant white noise. It's an intermittent, rhythmic pounding that is guaranteed to wake you up and keep you awake as lap after lap goes by. I had a passenger on a flight from Miami who was just furious. She was a lovely, elegant woman in her 70s who valued her sleep. She had booked a suite on deck 10 of a large ship. She didn't realize that the jogging track on deck 11 looped directly over her sitting area and bed. She told me, Sophia, every morning at 6 a.m., it sounded like a herd of elephants was stampeding over my head. I called guest services every morning in tears. They sent someone up with a noise meter, confirmed it was loud, sent me a bottle of cheap champagne as an apology, and did absolutely nothing to stop the runners. She said by day 4, she was standing on her balcony screaming at the runners above her out of sheer exhaustion and frustration. First, locate the track. Find the sports deck plan and clearly identify the path of the jogging track. Second, the safe radius. Do not just avoid the cabins directly under the track line. Sound vibration spreads out. You need a safe radius. Avoid any cabin that is within 3 doors in any direction of the track's path on the deck below. Third, look for the gym buffer. Some smarter ship designs place the gym or the spa directly under the jogging track because those areas aren't occupied at 6 a.m. Look for ships that use this design. It's a sign of good acoustical planning. If there are cabins under the track, run away. We have covered the scraping chairs, the rumbling carts, and the thumping runners, but we need to go deeper into the structure of the ship. We need to talk about the kind of noise that you don't just hear, but you can actually feel vibrating in your chest at 1 a.m. Let's talk about the nightlife and the physics of bass. You are on vacation. You want to relax. You are in bed by 10:30 p.m., looking forward to a good night's sleep before your shore excursion tomorrow. But at 11 p.m., the ship is just waking up. If you have booked a cabin located directly above or below the ship's nightclub theater or a lively piano bar, you are about to experience mistake number 4, the nightlife leak. This is where the soundproofing myth really falls apart. High-frequency sounds, like voices or violins, are relatively easy to block with insulation. But low-frequency sounds, like the bass drum in a dance track or the low notes of a bass guitar, are physical sound waves that are incredibly long and powerful. These waves do not just hit a wall and stop. They travel through solid objects. When the DJ in the nightclub on deck 9 drops a heavy beat at midnight, that low-frequency sound wave travels straight through the floor, down the steel supports of the ship, and turns the entire structure into a subwoofer. If you are in the cabin below, you won't hear the melody of the song. You will feel the beat. It will be a rhythmic vibration in your pillow, your mattress, and your own chest. Thump, 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 thump. You cannot earplug your way out of a physical vibration. It's torture. I had a sweet couple celebrating their 50th wedding anniversary on a flight home from a Caribbean cruise. They looked completely shell-shocked. They had splurged on a suite that happened to be located directly under the ship's main disco. They told me, "Sophia, every night until 3 a.m., the glasses on our nightstand were actually rattling across the table from the vibration. We called to complain, and they sent us a plate of chocolate-covered strawberries. You can't sleep on strawberries." They spent their golden anniversary cruise taking shifts sleeping during the day so one of them could stay awake and guard the room. It ruined their trip. First, the vertical scan technique. When looking at a cabin, you must look 2 decks up and 2 decks down. Sound travels far. Second, identify the danger zones, locate the nightclub, the main theater, the piano bar, and the atrium bar where they have live bands. Third, the buffer zone rule. Never book a cabin that shares a ceiling or a floor with these venues. Ensure there is at least 1 full deck of passenger cabins between you and the nightlife. Let's talk about how you end up in these terrible cabins in the first place. You've booked a nice, safe ocean view cabin on deck 4, it's quiet, you're happy. Then, 2 weeks before the cruise, you get an email. Subject, urgent, complimentary upgrade opportunity. They are offering to move you from your deck 4 ocean view to a deck 8 balcony for free. Or for a tiny fee like $50. You think, wow, what a deal, a higher deck and a balcony. Stop, you are about to fall for mistake number 5, the upgrade algorithm trap. Why is the cruise line being so generous? They are not. Cruise lines use sophisticated algorithms to manage their inventory. As the sailing date gets closer, they know exactly which cabins are left unsold. Which cabins are always the last to sell? The noisy ones, the ones under the pool deck, the ones next to the service elevators, the ones the savvy cruisers rejected months ago. The cruise line wants to clear that inventory. They know that many senior travelers have a psychological bias that higher deck, shy, better, and balcony, thai, luxury. They weaponize your desire for status against you. They offer you the upgrade to get you out of your good, sellable cabin on deck 4 so they can resell it at the last minute and stick you in the noisy cabin on deck 8 that nobody else wanted. You think you won, but you actually lost. I remember a gentleman on a flight from Fort Lauderdale. He was livid. He spent the whole flight venting to me in the galley. He had a perfectly good midship cabin booked. He got the email. He paid $100 to upgrade to a superior balcony on deck 9. When he got on board, he realized his balcony was located directly under the 24-hour pizza station on the Lido deck. He said, "Sophia, all night long I heard people scraping chairs, dropping plates, and loud drunk teenagers yelling for pepperoni pizza at 3 a.m. The smell of oregano and burnt cheese blew into my room constantly. It was the worst $100 I ever spent." First, the upgrade script. When your travel agent or the cruise line calls with an upgrade offer, here is the exact script you use. "Thank you for the offer. Before I accept, I need to know the exact cabin number you are moving me to. I will not accept a guarantee cabin. I need to see the location first. Second, vet the cabin. Once they give you the number, perform the overlay technique we talked about. Check what is above, below, and next to it. Third, be willing to say no. If the cabin is under the pool deck, say, 'No, thank you. I prefer my current location.' Do not be blinded by the word upgrade. A quiet inside cabin is infinitely better than a noisy balcony. You are looking at the deck plan. You found a cabin that is under other cabins. It's away from the elevators. It looks perfect. But you missed one tiny detail on the map, a little double arrow symbol between your cabin and the one next to it. This indicates a connecting door. And this is mistake number 6. The connector weakness. Connecting doors are great for families who want 2 rooms. They are a nightmare for strangers. A normal cabin wall is made of steel plates with heavy acoustic insulation materials layered in between. It's decent at blocking sound. A connecting door is literally a hole cut in that soundproof wall, filled with 2 standard wooden doors. There is always a gap at the bottom of these doors. The seals around the frames are rarely airtight. Acoustically, that door acts like a speaker diaphragm. It doesn't block sound, it transmits it. You will hear everything happening in the room next door. You will hear their TV, you will hear their conversations, you will hear their arguments, you will hear their CPAP machine wheezing all night. You will hear things you definitely do not want to hear. And remember, if you can hear them, they can hear you. Your privacy is gone. I had a solo traveler, a lovely retired teacher, on a flight from Miami. She was exhausted. She had been placed in a connecting cabin next to a family with 2 young children and a baby. She told me, "Sophia, I love kids, I really do, but I heard that baby crying every 2 hours as if it was in my own bed. I heard the parents arguing about whose turn it was to get up. I heard the cartoons on their TV at 6 a.m. It was like living in a dormitory." She had to go down to the gift shop and buy expensive noise-canceling headphones just to get any sleep at all. First, spot the symbol. You must learn the legend for the ship's deck plan. Look specifically for the symbol for interconnecting doors. Second, avoid at all costs. Unless you are traveling with the people in the other room, do not book a connecting cabin. If you are booking a guarantee cabin, add a note to your booking. No connecting cabins, please. Third, the towel hack. If you end up in one, here is a flight attendant trick. Take 2 large bath towels. Roll them up tightly lengthwise. Jam one roll firmly into the gap at the bottom of your side of the connecting door. Jam the second one vertically into the gap on the side where the hinges are. It won't fix it completely, but it helps dampen the sound transmission significantly. Let's talk about the ends of the ship. Many seniors love the very front or the very back of the ship. They think forward is exciting because you see where you are going, and aft is peaceful because you see the wake. But if you book too far forward or too far back, especially on a lower deck, you are walking into mistake number 7, the thruster shutter. Modern cruise ships are huge. To maneuver them into tight ports without tugboats, they use massive mechanical systems. At the very front of the ship, below the waterline, are the bow thrusters. These are enormous propellers pushed sideways through tunnels in the hull. They require immense power to turn the ship. At the very back are the main propellers and often stern thrusters. Also at the front, the anchor chain locker. The anchor chain on a megaship is massive. Each link can weigh hundreds of pounds. When does the ship dock? Usually between 5 a.m. and 7:00 a.m. You are asleep. Suddenly, the captain engages the bow thrusters to turn the ship. The entire front section of the ship begins to vibrate violently. It's not a sound, it's an earthquake. Your bed shakes. The glasses on the shelf rattle. The closet doors shudder in their frames. It sounds like a jet engine is taking off under your floor. Then, clang, 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 clang. That's the anchor chain being deployed. It sounds like a freight train derailing in the cabin next door. This happens every single port morning, right when you are in your deepest sleep. I had a terrified first-time cruiser on a flight from Seattle after an Alaska cruise. She was in a forward cabin on deck 4. She said the first morning they docked in Juneau, she woke up screaming. The vibration was so violent she thought the ship had run aground on a rock. She grabbed her life jacket before her husband calmed her down. She said every port day started with sheer terror at 5:30 a.m. She was a nervous wreck by the end of the week. First, the midship rule is sacred. The most stable and quietest part of the ship is always the middle. Second, the cabin count buffer. When looking at a deck plan, find the most forward cabin and the most aft cabin on that deck. Count at least 15 to 20 cabins inward from both the very front and the very back before you even consider booking. You need that much steel buffer between you and the machinery. Third, avoid the anchor views. Never book a cabin on a low deck that is right near the very tip of the bow. That is ground zero for anchor noise. We have covered the pool deck, the crew galleys, the joggers, the nightclub, the connecting doors, and the thrusters. But there is one more nightly noise terror that most people never see coming because it involves something that happens when you are supposed to be asleep. Let's talk about what happens on the deck above you between 2 a.m. and 4 a.m. every single night. You've checked the deck plans, you're not under the pool, you're not under the club, you think you're safe. But if you have a balcony cabin on the deck immediately below an open public outdoor deck, you are vulnerable to mistake number 8, the cleaning crew reality. When do you think they clean those massive outdoor decks? They can't do it during the day when passengers are sunbathing and walking around. They do it at night, usually between the hours of 2 a.m. and 4 a.m. when the decks are empty. And they don't just use a mop and bucket, they use industrial, gasoline-powered, or high-voltage electric pressure washers. These machines are loud. Hiss, thump, but the real noise generator is the water itself. They are blasting high-pressure water onto the steel or teak decking above your head. This creates a loud, thrumming vibration on your ceiling. Furthermore, all that water has to go somewhere. It runs off the side of the ship. If you have a balcony directly below, that water, often mixed with cleaning chemicals, cascades down past your balcony door. It sounds like a torrential downpour is hitting your cabin windows, even if it's a perfectly clear night. I had a passenger on a flight from Barcelona who was just bewildered. She said, "Sophia, it was the strangest thing. Every single night of our cruise, around 3 a.m., it sounded like a hurricane was hitting the ship. Heavy rain pounding on the balcony, loud mechanical noises. But when I looked out the window in the morning, the sky was clear and the sea was calm." It took her 4 days to realize it wasn't the weather. It was the deck crew cleaning the promenade above her. She was woken up 4 nights in a row by artificial rain. First, check for overhangs. This is critical for balcony cabins on high decks. Look at photos of the ship's exterior. Does the deck above yours stick out further than your balcony? Good. If there is a large overhang, it acts as a roof over your balcony. It helps block the noise of the pressure washers and diverts the water runoff away from your doors. Bad. If the decks are tiered like a wedding cake, where your balcony is totally open to the sky with no overhang from the deck above, you are a prime target for the noise and the water runoff. Second, look for drains. If you are on a deck plan, look for little symbols near the edge of the deck above yours that indicate scuppers or drains. Avoid cabins directly below these runoff points. Whew, that was a lot. We just went through 8 major ways your cabin location can ruin your sleep, from dragging chairs to thumping runners to midnight pressure washers. I know this feels like a minefield, but remember, knowledge is power. You are now armed with the information you need to fight back against the bad cabins. Now, I want to hear from you. I know my community of seasoned travelers is out there watching. Have you ever been a victim of the Deck 8 curse? Did you hear the chairs dragging at 5 a.m.? Did you get stuck under the nightclub? Or on the positive side, have you found a secret quiet deck or location that you swear by? Share your horror stories and your victory stories in the comments below. Let's help each other learn and stay safe out there. Your comment might save someone else's vacation. I want to look you in the eye for a moment. I didn't make this video to scare you away from cruising. I love that you are traveling. You have worked hard for 50 years, raising families, building careers, saving your money. Now is your time. Now is your time. You deserve to stand on that deck and watch the sunset over the ocean. You deserve to see the glaciers in Alaska and the ruins in Rome. You deserve to relax, but you cannot relax if you cannot sleep. Your sleep is the fuel for your memories. If you are exhausted, cranky, and brain-fogged from a week of being woken up at 4 a.m., you are not going to enjoy those amazing experiences you paid so much for. You are just going to be enduring them, wishing you were back in your own quiet bed. Your health in retirement is your most precious asset. Sleep is the foundation of that health. It is too precious to gamble with on a guarantee cabin or a fake upgrade. So please, I am asking you, as your guardian in the galley, take these warnings to heart. Remember the golden rule of cabin selection, the sandwich rule. You want to be the meat in the sandwich. You want a deck of passenger cabins purely above you and a deck of passenger cabins purely below you. No pools, no clubs, no galleys. Just quiet neighbors sleeping just like you. Be smart, be picky. Do your homework with those deck plans. Don't let a bad cabin steal the energy you need to explore the world. Protect your sleep, protect your memories, and go have the time of your life. Sleep deep, travel far, and as always, I'll see you in the sky.